Namaste. This particular video, I would love to talk about thoughts. When we are thinking the line of enlightenment, it is important to organize the thought process which we are going through. This is the path of Raja Yoga. So, it is very important to analyze and organize the thought in a certain way in order to understand the eternity which is living inside us. To understand the word meaning, like to understand what is it meant by eternity, it is important to go through the Upanishads in at first place itself, so that we will understand or we will get a taste of what it is meant to be eternal. In Upanishad we look into, it says, yak chakshusham na kashyapi enam chakshomshi kashyapi tadeva brahmatvam vidhinedam ititam upasate. What does it mean? Yak chakshusham na kashyapi. Yak chakshush. Chakshush, the word meaning of chakshush is eyes. Yak chakshusham na kashyapi, meaning we were not able to see it through eyes. We can't see it with our eyes. Yat chakshusham na kashyapi enam chakshomshi kashyapi. But it is watching through our eyes. Yat chakshusham na kashyapi enam chakshomshi kashyapi. Imagine you are in a deserted place and there is a house and it has a window, and from the window you can see the deserted land outside, which is very vast and very deep and so deserted, there is nobody. But in this scenario, you will never say the windows are watching the outside world. Rather, you are watching through windows. This is very important to understand. So, yet chakshusham na kashyapi enam chakshomshi kashyapi tadeva brahmatvam vidhinedam ititam upasate. Meaning, we can see it, we can't see it through eyes, but it is seen through eyes. Yat chakshusham na kashyapi enam chakshomshi kashyapi tateva brahmatvam. That is what we called Brahman or Absolute. Tateva brahmatvam vidhinedam. That is what it is called Absolute. Vidhinedam. Not this. Vidhinedam ititam upasate. Whatever we are worshipping here is not Brahman. To understand, to experience that sort of truth or that sort of bliss or that kind of eternity, it is very important to format our thought. I can explain it through one example. Like we are thinking, okay, So when we are thinking, what we are thinking about, we are thinking about the thought itself. We are not thinking about the reality. To understand this fact much more deeper way, I'll tell you, like, you are making sense that this is my father, or this is my mother, and this is my friends, or this is my clan. So this understanding comes into your mind. Now it's become a thought. When you are thinking about something, you are not thinking about the reality itself, but the second thought which comes into your mind about the clan or the parents or the money, whatever in your mind, the second thought is actually about the thought itself. It's not about the reality. So, in order to see the real or the truth or the absolute, or to experience the reality, it is very important to format, or it is very important to change the way we think to get out from the thought. We have to learn to unlearn. That Jittu Krishnamurti says, we have to learn to unlearn. This is the important thing. So to get into, to format this kind of thought, to understand this kind of thought, or to get this kind of thought, there is the way we visualize, the way we understand has to be in a certain format. Now, how do we get into that certain format? It is important to think in abstract way to see the real as real. When I am talking about abstract thought, it is very essential to know what is an abstract thought. Like, for example, I am speaking, and this speech comes from the combination of the words, and the words comes from the combination of the letters. So here the abstract is the letters, and from the combination of the letters, things is being produced in the visual world. Similar way, when we talk about the computer science, whatever we see, for example, the mobile phone sitting in at the palm of my hand, or this sitting in at the palm of your hand, is actually combination of the abstracts called ones and zero. Whatever it is producing, whatever you are visualizing in the screen, it's capacitors or resistors or whatever, all these capacitors which is storing the data, all those things is the combinations of ones and zero. So here the abstract is 1 and 0, and in mathematics the numbers are the abstract. So the abstract, we can't neglect the existence of the abstract. We can go into the mathematics to put this thought in a profounded way and sense. Nobody can't say numbers are unreal. Like the formulas which is formulated from the numbers can be untrue. We can neglect the existence of the mathematical formula, and we can prove or we can disprove the existence of the mathematical formulas which is being formed from the numbers. But nobody can say the number 1 or number 2 is not existing, and we can't even prove or disprove. We can't even disprove the existence of the numbers. There is no way to do that. So this is called something abstract. So thinking in very abstract and subjective way is very essential to experience the Brahman. When you experience Brahman, you get into the state of called enlightenment. And if you want something like that, you have to think very much into abstract way. And if you think in very much in abstract way, it is very useful in your work and your life and everything. So thinking about abstract, there are some words which we need to be too familiar with in order to come into the abstract thought. So those are the words which I am actually talking in at this particular video. So I have listed down some words in my computer. There is some turn words which I have listed with its meaning and a situation where you can understand that particular word in much more deeper way. The first word in my list is metaphor. Meaning, a metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or parse is applied to an object or action to which it is not literally applicable, suggesting a resemblance of analogy. So it's a kind of simile. We will say this is something like this. For example, sun looks like a ball, or earth is similar to a ball, or earth is similar to a globe. So here it is, this words is been chosen as a format of simile. Here it is just as it is. He is brave as a lion. Like, if you say it is in this way, this is a metaphor. So there is a situation. Why did the metaphor break up with the simile? It felt their relationship was an empty as blank canvas, lacking the colorful strokes of true connection. Exactly. Metaphor can't be in a relationship with simile, even though they are very similar. So this is something called metaphor. This is something which we really need to understand. Now the second word in at my list is paradox. Meaning, a paradox is a statement or proposition that, despite seeming self-contradictory or absorbed, may actually be well-founded or true. The situation can explain it much more better. I asked my friend if he believed in the concept of paradox. He said, "Of course I do." Not. "Of course I do not." Well, that's a paradox right there. Again, I asked my friend if he believes in the concept of paradox. He said, "Of course I do not." There is a metaphor. The first space, this is kind of ambiguity which is arising, but we can make sense out of what it is actually meant to. Like, of course I do not, but of course I do not. This expressing he believes, but he says the other way around. This is called a paradox. Ambiguity. Now we just said what is an ambiguity. So when we get into the word meaning of ambiguity, which goes in this way, meaning ambiguity refers to the quality of being open to more than one interpretation or having a double meaning, often creating uncertainty or confusion. Abstract has this particular quality. It can create ambiguity. Like, for example, an abstract painting that can create ambiguity, that can be ambiguous, but it represents only one thing. So this is called an ambiguity. There is a situation. I told my boss I can work with ambiguity. He said, "Great, you are in charge of our company's strategy." I still don't know if that's a compliment or a challenge. This is called exactly ambiguity. The next word in my list is synthesis. Meaning, synthesis is the combination of ideas or elements to form a coherent whole. In various contexts, it refers to the process of combining different components into a unified and interconnected system. So there is a situation. Why did the chemist finally decided to embrace synthesis? Because mixing elements of work, life and a pinch of humor resulted in a compound of success. Chemist can do that. Next word is divergence. Meaning, divergence is the process of moving or extending in different direction from a common point, often indicating a deviation or spreading apart. The situation goes in this way. My path in life is like a choose your own adventure book. It keeps diverging, and I am just hoping one of these plot twists leads to happy ending. We can just hope. But anyway, it is a kind of divergence. So more divergence you do in your life, there will be more opening. So epiphany, the next word in my list is epiphany, meaning an epiphany is a sudden profound realization or discovery, often resulting in a new understanding or perspective that was not apparent before. The situation goes in this way. I had a moment of epiphany last night. I realized I've been pronouncing epitome wrong my entire life. It was like an epiphany with an epiphany. An epiphany with an epiphany. This is the situation goes in this way. The next word in my list is abstraction. We have given enough examples for the word abstraction, but when we look into what does this particular word is meant to, abstraction, meaning abstraction involves the conceptualization of ideas or concepts separate from specific instances or concept realized. It involves focusing on the essential qualifier rather than the specific details. An abstraction can have multiple meaning in multiple situations according to the time and space. The situation goes in this way. I told my friend a joke about abstract art. They didn't laugh. I told them it was so sophisticated, only the intellectuals would get it. They still didn't laugh. So this is a joke. The next word in my list is intuition. I have spoken a lot about intuition. This is more or less an experiential reality. If we look into the intuition, that will come into an experiential reality actually. So when we can see the world as a real, our action, our thought process will be very intuitive. That could be result that can result a kind of chaos in the world which we are living into. But however, if we really very intuitive, it is actually very beneficial. Meaning, Intuition is the ability to understand or know something instinctively without the need for conscious reasoning. It often involves a quick and direct insight. My intuition told me not to trust stairs because they are always up to something. Now I take the elevator and my intuition is on a whole new level. The next word in my list is cognition, meaning cognition refers to the mental process and activities related to acquiring, storing, processing, and using information. It encompasses various aspects of thought, including perception, memory, reasoning, and problem solving. The situation goes in this way. My dog's cognition is impressive. He sits, stays, and understands complex commands. But ask him where his tennis ball is, and suddenly it is like he is solving a quantum physics problem. Perspective. This is something which we come into very greatly into the discussion. And it is very essential to change your perspective in order to think in the way which the Raja Yoga thoughts, very intuitively and very abstractively and very subjectively and very reasonably. To think in this way, changing the perspective or viewing things in different perspectives are very essential. Meaning, perspectives is the way in which something is viewed or considered, often shaped by personal experience, attitudes, and belief. It involves the mental framework through which individuals interpret and make sense of the world around them. My wife and I have different perspective on housework. She sees it as a never-ending task, while I see it is an excellent opportunity to procrastinate and ponder the meaning of life. I think these are the important words which comes when we go much more deep into abstract thought, and if when we start to train our thought process in more abstractive and subjective way. It's essential to understand at least the meaning of these 5-10 words in order to go really better into abstract thoughts. Thank you for